second here. Okay. All praises to the Most High. Shabbat Shalom. So today we're going to get into a study titled The Sins of Sodom. A lot of times we hear things about quote-unquote Sodomites and, the stories of Sodom and Gomorrah, but it's, the Bible really looks at what happened in that place as a very unclean, abominable thing, right? But we're gonna get into the details on it because it's these same kind of things are hinted in the New Testament too, and just touching on these things, just trying to provide a little deeper input or another another angle at looking at the sins of Sodom. All right. So first and foremost, we are going to start off. 1 second here. We're going to start off in Revelation, the book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 8. All right. All right. So right here it reads, and their body. And Salaki, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, right? And it says, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Okay, so when you look into the scriptures, man, this quote on this place called Babylon is also known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt. All right. And that's in these times right now. Now you look at a lot of things that's going on. There's a lot of sodomy, a lot of sodomite activity. You know what I mean? But this stuff is nothing new. And these things are quote unquote abominable on many levels. So I'm gonna keep rolling with the study. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 44. Ezekiel 16 and 44. All right. And it reads, behold, everyone that useth proverbs shall use this proverb against thee, saying, as the mother, so is her daughter. Right? We know this place is also known to be the daughter of Babylon. Right? We also seen in Revelations 11 where it called it, it referred to this place as spiritual Sodom and Egypt. Okay? And according to Ezekiel 16 and 44, which is a very true statement on many levels, it says here, behold, everyone that useth proverbs shall use this proverb against thee, right? Against this place right here, right? This is also known as the daughter of Babylon. So why is it called the daughter of Babylon? Is because it takes on the characteristics of original Babylon, right? Which lines up with this scripture right here. Behold, everyone that useth proverbs shall use this proverb against thee. Saying, as is the mother, so is her daughter. Okay? That even plays out with, a mother and her child as well, right? The daughter will most likely take on more characteristics of the mother than the father. All right. We're going to drop down to verse 49 in this same chapter. Ezekiel 16 and 49. Behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom. Pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her. Okay, these are the things that made Sodom and Gomorrah very sinful. Okay, I'm going to read that again. Behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom, right? Pride, there was a lot of pride in that place, fullness of bread, right? Similar to today, right? You got a bunch of GMO and fake food everywhere. So, people don't really realize that we are in a famine as we speak, because there's so much fake food. They think that it's, we have an abundance of everything, right? But I'm going to keep reading. Behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom. Pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her. And in her daughter, neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and the needy. These are the kind of things that was going on in Sodom that made it sinful and abominable to the Most High. And this is the same stuff that's happening here today, right? In quote-unquote America, right? Which is also the daughter of Babylon. We're going to keep it moving. We're going to go to Matthew, the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 36. All right. Matthew 24 and 36. One second here. Slocky, in 1 second. Sorry, I was in the wrong chapter. Okay. Matthew 24 and 36, and it reads, But of that day and that hour no man knoweth, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. Right? I'm going to continue to read. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Now, I'm going here because the same things that was taking part in the Sodom and Gomorrah was also happening in the days of Noah as well. Right? I'm going to pull up some precepts on that. They were a lot of fornication going on, a lot of flesh being joined together, which is a union and is becoming one flesh. We're not supposed to become one flesh with people of the same gender. We're not supposed to become one flesh with animals. All of these things, like for instance, you look in quote unquote, what they call Greek mythology, and you see things like, half man, half beast and stuff like that. These things, they didn't just make those up. Those things were before the flood. You see what I'm saying? And that's because of what was going on in the land. You hear about the fallen angels having intercourse with the women. There was also things going on with the animals as well. Okay, these are the sins of Sodom. All right, I'm going to keep reading. Matthew 24 and 37. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So we know that the people were being warned, right, to turn away from these ways, just like the flood, before the flood, right? And what happened when the flood came, it cleansed the earth. Same thing will happen when Yasha returns, right? Verse 38. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. Now, I'm bringing this out again, hoping that we're able to look at this from a different angle, right? Now, notice what he's saying here. He's mentioning the second coming of the Son of Man, right? The Son of the Most High. And he's also highlighting the days of Noah. Okay? And it says, for as in the days were before the flood, they were eating and drinking. Now we know eating and drinking is not sinful unless it's done in a sinful way, right? Because we eat and drink. The 144,000 are people that eat food and drink, right? We know it's not unlawful to drink wine or alcohol. It says not to be drunk, right? So there's certain things that push it into sin. You see what I'm saying? Now, we know that marrying is not unlawful, right? But we also mentioned the joining of flesh with things that are not supposed to be joint, right? Because when two flesh become one, it is a union. And those two flesh become one. See what I'm saying? These kind of things were happening before the flood. These things were happening in Sodom and Gomorrah. And these things are happening today. All right? So it's when we're looking at this, it's not the eating that he's saying is something to condemn somebody about. It's not the drinking. It's not the marrying. It's not giving in marriage, because he says, be fruitful and multiply. It says, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, right? So there was something that Noah was doing that was telling the people, he was trying to warn the people of something before he went into the ark, right? Because again, we know that the Bible tells us that we are supposed to eat. That's how we sustain our lives, right? But we're supposed to eat clean food, not be riotous eaters of flesh, according to the Bible, right? We know that drinking, we drink water, we drink wine. These things, those things are not unlawful. But when it goes into aside from the commandment, that's when it becomes a sin. Marrying, again, two flesh joining as one is a union. Okay, that is the physical certification of that union. All right. So, and then it says, and given into marriage. So I ask you this: when we talk about the sins of Sodom, and the Bible refers to spiritual Sodom in Egypt, the question is this: is there unions amongst flesh that should not be joined happening in this place? Absolutely. Are people joining themselves with animals? Absolutely. Are people operating in riotous eating of flesh? Absolutely. Are people drinking to excess and making bad decisions? You see it on TV all the time, talking about one night stands like it's a regular thing, right? Once a person's intoxicated, they make bad decisions. All these things lead up to sin. All right. These are the kind of things that was happening in the days of Noah. These are the things that was happening in Sodom and Gomorrah as well. All right. And we're gonna get deeper on into the days of Noah as well. So I'm gonna keep moving. We're gonna go to Deuteronomy 29 and 23. Okay, remember the Bible refers to this place as spiritual Sodom in Egypt, right? We gotta kind of put a flashlight on what the sins of Sodom were, so we can have insight for ourselves to try to do our due diligence not to repeat the same things. So this is Deuteronomy 29 and 23, and it reads, and that whole land thereof is brimstone and salt and burning, that is not sown, that it is not sown, nor beareth, nor any grass groweth therein, like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim. Yeah, you see it. With the Lord, which the Lord overthrew in his anger and in his wrath. So if this is spiritual Sodom in Egypt, when the Most High sends his son back to bring judgment on this place, what do we think is going to happen? This place is going to be filled with brimstone and salt, just like Sodom and Gomorrah was. You see what I'm saying? These things, we have to keep our minds upon these things and see what's going on, so we do not repeat the same things. All right. So we're going to go to Luke 17 and 34. Okay, this is the book of Luke, the account to what we read in Matthew 24. But look at what it says here, because again, what I was trying to highlight, it's not the marrying that was the sin. It was not giving into marriage that was sin. It's not eating food that was a sin. It's not drinking that was the sin. It was what was being done in those same activities that were sinful, was the riotous eating of flesh, the drinking in excess, the strange flesh being joined together, becoming one flesh with animals, and same gender marriages. These things that's what the problem was. But again, this is the precept to Matthew 24 as well. Luke 17 and 34. And it reads, I tell you, this is red letter, I tell you, in that night there shall be two men in one bed. Now, the question is, what is two men doing in one bed? Okay? Two men. I'm going to read it again. I tell you that in that night there shall be two men in one bed. The one shall be taken and the other shall be left. Now, when you look up the word taken, okay, that is a submissive action. All right. Now, people, they point this out as if this is talking about some type of rapture. This is not talking about a rapture. Okay. It says two men in one bed. I'm going to read it again. I tell you, in that night there shall be two men in one bed. Keep in mind too, as Revelation 11 said, spiritual Sodom and Egypt. Okay. All right. And we also read in Ezekiel 16 where it talks about, so is the mother, so shall be the daughter. Okay. Same thing. Just like the mother was, the daughter will be as well, because she'll take after her mother. Okay. I'm going to read it, red letter. I tell you that in that night there shall be two men in one bed. Again, I ask, what are two men doing in one bed? The one shall be taken. If you look up that word, it talks about submission. Okay. One being submissive to another. Okay. And the other shall be left. Verse 35. Two women shall be grinding together. The one shall be taken and the other shall be and the other left. Two men shall be in the field. The one shall be taken and the other left. And they answered and said unto him, now listen to this, where, Lord? And he said unto them, wheresoever the body is, thither will the eagles be gathered together. So the question is, are these eagles coming to snatch them to bring them someplace else? Or are those eagles bringing judgment against what's going on in this situation? Right? Now, I'm going to bring up some precepts and I'm going to let the word speak. Okay, we talk about the sins of Sodom. That which was is that which shall be. Okay, according to Ecclesiastes 3 and 15 and Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. There's nothing new under the sun. All right. Let's go to Genesis 2 and 24. Okay. We're going to deal with that eagles part too. So just keep that in your mind, because those eagles will be doing something. And we're going to see what the precepts say about that. We're going to go to Genesis 2 and 24. All right. And it reads right here. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Okay. So again, what I was trying to highlight, the marrying is not the sin. It's the joining of the flesh with something that should not be joined. Okay. When two things become one, that interlocking is one, it becomes one flesh. All right. Now we're going to go to Jeremiah 7 and 33, because it mentioned in Luke 17, I'm going to read it again, Luke 17 and 37, and they answered and said unto him, where, Lord? And he said unto them, wheresoever the body is, thither will the eagles be gathered together. Now, it's talking about a scavenger, okay? Now, we're going to get it. Jeremiah 7 and 33. Okay? There's something going on here. Two men in a bed that's not supposed to be. Okay? And according to the scriptures, a man and a woman are to come together and become one flesh. All right? In Sodom and Gomorrah, it was the same gender joining together and becoming one flesh. That is contrary to what the Most High established. So this is Jeremiah 7:33. All right? And it reads, and the carcasses of this people shall be meat for the fowls of the heaven and for the beast of the earth, and none shall fray away. Fray means to tear away. Okay? So when we look in Luke and it's talking about the eagles, the body, right? Wheresoever the body is, thither will the eagles be gathered. We're going to see what it's talking about. I'm going to go to Jeremiah 9:21. Okay? Jeremiah 9:21. And it reads, for death is come up into our window and is entered into our palaces, to cut off the children from without and the young men from the streets. Remember, Matthew 15:24, Yasha came onto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So who he's speaking of here is Yasharallah doing abominable things. And he's telling you that their bodies will be eaten by the eagles, by the scavengers, by the birds, the fowls of the heaven. Okay? For doing the same abominable things that was happening in Sodom and Gomorrah. All right? I'm going to read. This is Jeremiah 9:21. For death is come up into our windows and is entered into our palaces, to cut off the children from without and the young men from the street. Verse 22. Speak, thus saith the Lord, even the carcasses of men shall fall as dung. Dung is poop, doo-doo, right? Feces. Upon the open field. Right? We know it also mentioned in Luke about two men being in a field. Okay? It says, dung upon the open field, and as the handful after the harvest man, and none shall gather them. Okay? Now, we're going to keep on touching on it because we need to understand what that eagle part is talking about. Let's go to the last book in the Bible, Revelations chapter 19, verse 17. All right? Revelation 19:17. Yasha was speaking of prophecies from the Old Testament and the New. Okay? Because these are the sins of Sodom and it's happening in this very place. All right? The Most High is not dealing with it. We have Revelation 19:17. And it reads, and I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls of the air, all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together onto the supper of the great God. Okay? So verse 18, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. Okay? These birds will be eating the flesh of men. Okay? Especially those that are taking part in sodomy. Period. Right? We're going to keep going. 1 second. We're going to go to the book of Yasha. Okay? I'm going to get some scriptures to highlight that marrying was not the issue. Okay? When we read in Matthew 24, when it's talked about in those days, they will be marrying and giving into marriage, eating and drinking. Again, it's not the basic exercise of these things that are the sin. The sin is going aside from the commandment of how to do these things, which would start to lead into the same things that was happening in Sodom and Gomorrah. All right. So we're going to go to Yasha. Yasha chapter 5, verse 7. Let me go get my book real quick. All right, so we're going into the book of Yasha. If you don't have Yasha, you could just listen while I read it out, or you could look it up online. All right. Yasha chapter 5, verse 7. All right, Yasha chapter 5, verse 7. So remember, as in the days of when Christ returned, it'll be as the days of Noah. All right, I'm paraphrasing. So we're gonna see what was happening in Noah's days, and line it up with what's gonna be taking part. Okay, but I'm coming here to specifically show that when we read Matthew 24, it's not the marriage. Being married is not a sin. Eating is not a sin. Drinking is not a sin. It's the sodomy part. Okay, it's the drinking in excess. All right, I got to emphasize that, and I'm going to show it through these scriptures. This is Yasha 5 and 7. Speak ye and proclaim to the sons of men, saying, Thus say the Lord, return from your evil ways and forsake your works. Okay, what works were they doing? They were doing abominable things, and we're going to get into it. Okay, they were doing this before the flood. They were doing this after the flood in Sodom and Gomorrah, and they're doing it now. Okay. It says, and the Lord will repent of the evil that he declared to do to you, so that it shall not come to pass. Right? Verse 8. For thus saith the Lord, behold, I will give you a period of 120 years, if you will return to me and forsake your evil ways. Okay? It says, then will I also turn away from the evil which I told you, and it shall not exist, saith the Lord. Verse 9, and Noah and Methuselah spoke all the words of the Lord to the sons of men day after day. So these brothers is out there, preaching the word and letting these people know, return from your sins. Okay? There was something that they were doing, and marriage was not the issue. Okay? I'm gonna show it hands down. Constantly, I'm still going. So Noah and Methuselah was, basically street preaching to these people day after day, letting them know, listen, the hand of the Most High is against this. You see what I'm saying? Stop what you're doing, repent, and turn away. All right. It says, constantly speaking to them. Verse 10, but the sons of men would not hearken, which means listen to them, nor incline their ears to their words, and they were stiff-necked. So when you tell somebody, hey, man, living that type of lifestyle is not fruitful, right? Look at it. I mean, two men cannot produce anything. Two women cannot produce anything. However, they just join their flesh with another person. Okay, now they're one flesh. That is the physical portion of the marriage. Okay? Now they have just joined their flesh with something abominable. And the person's not abominable. It's the same gender that's abominable. That's not how it's supposed to be. Okay? The Most High gave us a commandment. He said, be fruitful and multiply. So when we read in Matthew 24, and Yasha's talking, it's not the marriage that's the sin. Okay? I'm going to keep going. Where am I here? And also, just to put it on the minds, right? Nothing fruitful can come from that, okay? A man and a man, a woman and a woman cannot produce life. That is basically genocide without a weapon. That's voluntary genocide. It makes no sense. It makes no sense, okay? It really doesn't. People try to, in spiritual Sodom and Egypt, people try to promote that like, it's just love, so just love it. No, that's not, what is that? You see what I'm saying? So let me just keep reading. This is Yasha chapter 5, verse 10, right? It says, but the sons of men would not hearken to them, nor incline their ears to their words, and they were stiff-necked, just like today. And the Lord granted them a period of 120 years. That's how long it took Noah to build the ark, right? Saying, if they will return, then will AHAYAH repent of the evil so as not to destroy the earth, right? Verse 12, Noah, the son of Lamech, refrained from taking a wife in those days. Again, I'm going to highlight right now that it wasn't the marriage. Remember, in the days of Noah, so shall it be when the Most High sends his son again. Okay? Noah, the son of Lamech, refrained from taking a wife in those days to beget children. For he said, surely now AHAYAH will destroy the earth. Wherefore, then shall I beget children? So he's like, well, the Most High is going to destroy this place. Should I have children? You know what I mean? I'm going to keep reading. Verse 13. And Noah was a just man. He was perfect in his generation. And the Lord chose him to raise up seed from the seed upon the face of the earth. And the Lord said unto Noah, take unto thee a wife and beget children. For I have seen the righteous before me in this generation. So the marriage is not the problem. Okay? That's not the issue. Verse 15. And thou shalt raise up seed and thy children with thee in the midst of the earth. And Noah went and took a wife, and he chose Naamah, the daughter of Enoch, and she was 580 years old. And Noah was 490 years old when he took Naamah for a wife. Okay? Why did I come here? I came here because when it's talking about the day of the Lord, you know, it also mentioned in Luke 17 about two men in a bed. You know, this is letting you know that there was actions that was happening that was abominable, okay? And it's not the marriage portion. It's the marriage of the same sex. It's the marriage of gender. It's the marriage of bestiality. It's over drinking. It's eating of swine and all kind of abominable things. Those are the things that was the problem, okay? Hold 1 second. We're going to stay in the book of Yasha. We're going to go to Yasha chapter 4, verse 17. Get a little deeper visual of what was happening in the days of Noah, right? Why he flooded the earth, right? And it carried on into Sodom and Gomorrah, and it's still happening now. So Yasha chapter 4, verse 17, and it reads, every man made unto himself a god. Okay, that's still happening today. All right. People feel that they can do whatever they want. You have placed yourself in the seat of a god. All right. It says, and every man made unto himself a god, and they robbed and plundered every man his neighbor, as well as his relative, and they corrupted the earth, and the earth was filled with violence. This is happening right now. Same thing was happening in Sodom, and we're going to bring it up too. Verse 18. And their judges and rulers went to the daughters of men and took their wives by force. That is rape. Okay. You have this same thing happening also in the jail system. Okay. You have this stuff happening right here out in these streets with these pedophiles and all of that. They got what LGTB community with, then now they added a P to it too. You know what I'm saying? And that P is for pedophilia. Man, understand this is spiritual Sodom in Egypt. And these were the sins of Sodom. Okay? I'm going to read verse 18 again. This is what was happening before the flood. All right? And their judges and rulers went to the daughters of men and took their wives by force from their husbands according to their choice. And the sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the air, and taught the mixture of animals, one species with another. Okay? They were also joining themselves to these animals. All right? Same thing. Bestiality. It's even in the Bible. Okay? This is the same kind of stuff that was happening in Sodom before the flood, and it's happening today. All right? It says, and taught the mixture of animals of one species with the other, in order therewith to provoke the Lord. All right? Now, I've seen these people that live a homosexual lifestyle speak blasphemies against the Most High. Okay? I've seen them do some wild stuff just to provoke the Father because he does not approve of that. He didn't create man to be like that. You see what I'm saying? It says, and AHAYAH saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt. For all flesh had corrupted its ways upon the earth, all men and all animals. Okay? So that's bestiality. That's homosexuality. That's all kind of wild stuff. And this is why the earth got flooded the first time. Okay. So next, I'm gonna stay in Yasha. We're gonna go to Yasha 19:1. Okay. So now we're gonna see what was happening in Sodom and Gomorrah. All right. It was really, man, there's some wild stuff happening there, man. When we talking about the sins of Sodom, we're not supposed to be following those things. And this is why the world is so corrupt right now. According to Romans 9:4, the children of Israel are the lawgivers, and we're not telling these people the truth. You know what I'm saying? We need to get out there in these streets and blow the trumpet, just like Noah and Methuselah. You see what I'm saying? Let these people know what is coming. You see what I'm saying? So right now, we're in Yasha chapter 19. We're going to read from verse 1. Okay? This is talking about Sodom and Gomorrah. All right? So it says right here, and the cities of Sodom had 4 judges, 2 4 cities, and these were their names: Sirach in the city of Sodom, Sharkad in Gomorrah, Zabnak in Admah, and Menon in Zebulun. And Eliezer, Abraham's servant, applied to them different names, and he converted Sirach to Shakra, Shakrad to Shakura, Zebnak to Kizobim, and Menon to Matzlodin. And by desire of their 4 judges, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah had beds erected in the streets of the cities. And if a man came to these places, they laid hold of him and brought him to one of their beds. We read in the book of Matthew 24, all right, 36 through 44, where it also talked about the marriage and so forth. We read in Luke, right, where it talked about 2 men in one bed. All right, we talk about sins of Sodom. Here we are. It also talked about 2 women grinding at the mill. Okay, I'm going to read this. It says here, verse 3, Yasha 19:3. Let's see what's happening in Sodom. And by desires of their 4 judges, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah had beds erected, okay, in the streets of the cities. And if a man came to these places, they laid hold of him and brought him to one of their beds, and by force made him to lie in them. Okay. Now keep in mind, when Yasha returns, it'll be as the day of Noah. This earth is moving clearly in that direction. They are starting to even add pedophilia to the AOK list. All right. Verse 4. Verse 4. And it reads, and as he lay down, 3 men would stand at his head and 3 at his feet, and measure him by the length of the bed. And if the man was less than the bed, these 6 men would stretch him at each end, and when he cried out to them, they would not answer him. Wow. Okay, that sounds like rape to me. I'm going to keep going. Verse 5. And if he was longer than the bed, they would draw together the 2 sides of the bed at each end until the man was reached the gates of death. Verse 6, and if he continued to cry out to them, we know that the Bible has laws about rape. It says that for instance, if a female or a damsel, right, comes encounter with a man and she doesn't scream out, it's not rape. Okay. Now, the Bible does not condone rape, but it's telling you that is how a woman is she's supposed to scream out. You see what I'm saying? Period. Now, we also know in the book of Judges, the Benjamite almost got eradicated. That was one of our brethren for raping a concubine. Okay. The Most High does not support that at all. All right. And neither should we. If we saying that we walking in this light and we believe in the Bible and the word of God, that's not a righteous thing. Okay. It says here, I'm going to read verse 5 again. And if he was longer than the bed, they would draw together the two sides of the bed at each end until the man had reached the gates of death. And if he continued to cry out to them, they would answer him, saying, thus shall it be done to a man that cometh into our land. Now, we also know when the angels were sent to Sodom and Gomorrah, the same kind of thing they tried to do. See, this is the beautiful thing of these books that were taken out of the Bible, because it allows us to connect the dots and have a deeper understanding. When they were pounding on Lot's door, they were pounding on the door to exercise these same things. Okay? Now, and that's why that place got burnt to a crisp. And we also read the scriptures, Deuteronomy 29 and 23, where it tells you that place right now is still brimstone and salt. Okay? The Most High burnt that place down. Nothing grows there. All right? Where we at? And we know that that's what's going to happen to the whole earth. The whole earth is going to be destroyed. You see what I'm saying? And there'll be a new heaven and new earth. We know that the Bible talks about that. Right? Why is that? Because the sins of Sodom are heavily active in the daughter of Babylon. Period. Right? Verse 6. I'm going to read that one more time. And if he continued to cry out to them, they would answer him, saying, thus shall it be done to a man that cometh into our land. And when men heard all these things that the people of the cities of Sodom did, they refrained from coming there. Okay? Man. We're going to keep going. Sins of Sodom, man. We're going to go to Romans chapter 1, verse 24. All right? When we go through this, you know, all I ask is that as we go through it, I want to build on some precepts here. So we're going to take it, we're going to deal with the verse, and then we're going to get some precepts to build on that verse, just to get a little more insight of what was going on. So we're going to go to Romans 1 and 24. All right. Romans chapter 1, verse 24. All right. And it reads, so we just going to see how the Most High feels about this place, spiritual Sodom and Egypt. All right. Why he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Right. And it's because of the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah. I'm going to read it. Romans 1 and 24. Wherefore AHAYAH also gave them up to uncleanness. Right. Just like Moses Noah and Methuselah kept warning the people. Eventually, the Most High just gave them up to the flood. You see what I'm saying? All right. Wherefore, AHAYAH also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own heart, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves. Okay? Man lying with man, woman lying with woman. Okay? If you keep being warned and keep being told and you reject that truth, the Most High will give you up to your own destruction. All right? So let's get some precepts on that, right? Let's see what it's talking about. Just really poking at it, man. Let's get Psalms. So whole Romans 1 and 24. We're going to come back to it. We're going to go to Psalms 81 and 11. All right. Psalms 81 and 11. You know, the Most High gave us the power of free will, but mankind abuses it. You know what I'm saying? And I'll tell you right now, I would trade up my free will any day just to operate perfectly in this law so I can make it in the kingdom. It's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? We cannot handle it because our flesh, you know, fights against the spirit all the time. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, Psalms 81 and 11. And it reads, but my people would not hearken to my voice, and Israel would none of me. Verse 12. So I gave them up to their own hearts, lust, and they walked in their own counsels. That's what's happening right now in spiritual Sodom and Egypt. Let's keep it rolling. Again, whole Romans 1 and 24. We're coming back to it. Let's go to Ephesians 4 and 18. Ephesians 4 and 18. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 18. It reads, having the understanding darkened. Okay, the Most High gave us the truth. His word is the lamp. It is light. Okay, having the understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of AHAYAH through the ignorance that is in them because of the blindness of their heart. All right. It's all about love, 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 love. It's all about righteousness. Okay. And righteousness will allow us to love the Most High properly by keeping his commandments. All right. That's what it's about. All right. Verse 19, who being past feeling, have given themselves over onto lasciviousness to work all uncleanness with greediness. Okay. So they can't have enough of that homosexual lifestyle. All right. So when we read Romans 1:24, and it says, wherefore AHAYAH gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves. This is what it's talking about. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians 2:10. 2 Thessalonians 2:10. All right. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 10, and it reads, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. All right. It reads verse 11, and for this cause AHAYAH shall send them strong delusion. Okay. That is a delusion to think that a man and a woman can have a fruitful relationship and carry on their family tree. That is delusional. Okay. Strong delusion. All right. And for this cause AHAYAH shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie. All right. I'm going to go to 1 Corinthians 6:18. 1 Corinthians 6:18. Start here. All right. 1 Corinthians 6:18, and it reads, flee fornication. Every sin that a man doeth is without the body, but he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body. All right. I'm going to read that again. Flee from fornication. Flee fornication. Every sin that a man doeth is without the body. Why is that? Because it affects your spirit. All right. It says, but he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body. All right. I'm gonna keep going. I got one more here, and then we're gonna go back to Romans. I'm gonna go to Leviticus 18:22. Okay. Leviticus 18:22. These are the sins of Sodom. All right. Leviticus 18:22, it says, thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. Period. All right. Going back to Romans 1:24. All right. So Romans 1:24, it reads, wherefore AHAYAH also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves. All right. Verse 25. Who changed the truth of AHAYAH into a lie? When did the Most High ever tell a man to intercourse with another man, or a woman to intercourse with another woman, or a woman to sleep with an animal, or a man to sleep with an animal? When did the Most High ever say these things was okay? Right? I'm going to read again. And, you know, people nowadays are so smart that they become ignorant. Like, how are you so, man, all of these different levels of education, and most of the quote unquote smartest people are gay. Are you kidding me? Clearly they're missing something, right? You look at the industry. There's a lot of homosexual activity, okay? That's how they get further and further and bigger business deals and stuff like that. You know, every time you see a celebrity get a new show, you need to kind of question, what did he do to get that? Right? The whole industry is very, they establish a lot of gay roots in that stuff, right? We know that in Matthew 4 and 8, when the serpent took Yasha to the high mountain and tried to convince him to worship him, right? He said he'll give him basically all the kingdoms of the earth, right? He you know, if he bow down and worship him. And that's what a lot of these celebrities have done. Okay, they gave their soul and you know, take part in all kind of homosexual acts. All right, the Most High is not dealing with that. But anyway, let me read this again. Romans 1 and 25. Who changed the truth of AHAYAH into a lie and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever? So big, right? So that's the same kind of stuff that's happening in these different groups of gay activity. You see what I'm saying? The Most High is not dealing with that. So I'm going to get some precepts on that. Let's go to Isaiah. So whole Romans 1 and 25. We're going to come back to that. Let's go to Isaiah 44 and 20. Isaiah 44 and 20. All right. So again, they worship the creature more than the Creator, right? The Most High say not to do this, but their heart is so in tune with a homosexual lifestyle that they can't even hear the words of God because they're worshiping the creature more than the Creator. All right. Isaiah 44 and 20, and it reads, Slaki, was it 44? Yeah, 44 and 20. All right. He feedeth on ashes, and a deceived heart had turned him aside, that he cannot deliver his soul, nor say, is there not a lie in my right hand? You see, when they start to receive the fruit of what they have been sowing, they can't even see it no more. They can't even see clear no more. The mind has become reprobate because they denied the truth. And the Most High gave them over to their own vile affections. See what I'm saying? They start to worship the creature more than the Creator. Let's go to Leviticus 18 and 23. All right. These are precepts on Romans 1 and 25. Leviticus 18 and 23. And it reads, neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself. Therewith neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down therewith. Two. Slakia, there too is confusion. Okay? When we read Romans 1 and 25 and it talks about them worshiping the creature more than the Creator, these things was happening in Sodom and Gomorrah. These things was happening before the flood, as we read in Yasha. These things are happening today. All right. And again, when two flesh join together, they have become one, which is the physical aspect of marriage. Just bringing it out. Let's go to Jude 1 and 10, and then we're going back to Romans. All right, Jude 1 and 10. Jude chapter 1 verse 10, and it reads, but these speak evil of those things which they knew not, but what they know naturally as brute beasts, in those things they corrupt themselves. Okay, we know naturally that a man and a woman are to be together. We know that naturally. Okay, we know naturally that a dog and a dog is supposed to be together. We know that man and man are not supposed to be together. But in this wicked place, they teach that it's okay. They teach confusion. And they teach it to the children. You see what I'm saying? So we have to definitely train up these children. All right? But I'm going to read Jude 1 and 10 again. But these speak evil of those things which they knew not. But what they know naturally as brute beasts, in those things they corrupt themselves. Okay? Again, we know naturally that those things just don't fit. So it shouldn't be like that. All right? I'm going to read Romans 1 and 25 again. Who changed the truth of AHAYAH into a lie and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever? So be it. That's what was happening in Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay? Those were the sins of Sodom. I'm going to keep reading. Romans 1 and 26. For this cause AHAYAH gave them up to vile affections, for even their women did change their natural use into that which is against nature. Okay? That's women doing things together that is not natural. Men doing things together that's not natural. You know, like we read in Luke 17, 2 men in one bed. It also mentioned two women grinding together. These things are not natural actions. Okay? Verse 27. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one towards another. Men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error, which was meat. Okay? So they're going to get judged for that. Okay? Got to pray for them and hope that they turn away from that stuff. All right, verse 28. And even as they did not like to retain AHAYAH in their knowledge, right? Because they're worshiping the creature more than the Creator. All right? And the minute you tell them that that's wrong, the Most High does not want you to operate like that. All of a sudden, it went from truth to an opinion because of what's in their heart, and they are being deceived. Okay? Verse 28. And even as they did not like to retain AHAYAH in their knowledge, they talk about God all day until you tell them the Most High don't, he don't deal with that kind of lifestyle. All of a sudden it's, I understand your opinion, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's not supposed to be like that. It should not be like that. These are facts. Okay? And if it's not a fact, please show me 2 men that had a baby. Or show me 2 women that had a baby. Or show me a woman and an animal that had a baby. You see what I'm saying? These things is not supposed to be going on. But anyway, let me read this last one here. Romans 1 and 28. And even as they did not like to retain AHAYAH in their knowledge, AHAYAH gave them over to a reprobate mind. That is a broken mind that can no longer see the truth. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 10. Okay, we read that also. All right. To do those things which are not convenient. All right. So, falling into that lifestyle, the Most High give you over to a reprobate mind. God forbid, turn away. You know what I'm saying? Turn away before he dims your light. You know what I'm saying? Because if he dims that light, only he could turn it back on. See what I'm saying? Got a couple more here. Probably like 2 more. And then we're going to wrap it up. So I'm going to go to 1 Kings 14 and 23. 1 Kings 14 and 23. This is not something that is condoned by the Most High. This is not something that he even wants around his people. Homosexual lifestyle comes from the other nations. And that's something that the Most High does not deal with. And I'm going to show it right now in the Bible. Not my words. I'm speaking from the scriptures. I'm Salakia. I am reading from the scriptures. 1 Kings 14 and 23. Here it goes. For they also built them high places and images and groves on every high hill and under every green tree. That's how they was doing their false worship. Verse 24. And there were also Sodomites in the land. And they did according to all the abominations of the nations, which the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. The Most High don't even want that around you. Okay? If you say you walking in the light, walk in the light. Don't put yourself in those kind of situations to be around those kind of activities, around those kind of people, unless you're trying to bring them to the light. But don't let their darkness consume you and put your candle out. You know what I'm saying? It's not worth it. All right. And last but not least, I had this, this passage out of the Apocalypse of Paul. Okay. Very powerful, very powerful, very powerful. And this is the last scripture I got here, and I'm going to bring it out. So this is Apocalypse of Paul, chapter 39, the 5th paragraph. All right. And it reads, the Apocalypse of Paul, let me just give a little insight. The Apocalypse of Paul talks about the judgment that is aligned with the sin. Okay. So every sin has a specific judgment. All right. So this is the judgment of a sodomite. Okay. According to the Apocalypse of Paul. Right here. And this is actually precepted with Romans 1:24 through 28, which we just read. All right. So again, this is Apocalypse of Paul, chapter 39, the 5th paragraph. And it reads, and I saw other men and women covered with dust, and their countenance was like blood. And they were in a pit of pitch and sulfur. We know that Sodom and Gomorrah was burnt down, and it was fire and brimstone. Sulfur is used to strike a match. Same kind of thing. Okay. It says, and there were in a pit of pitch and sulfur, and running down into a fiery river. And I asked, Sir, who are these? And he said to me, these are they who committed the iniquity of Sodom and Gomorrah, the male with the male, for which reason they unceasingly pay the penalties. Okay. So again, all praises to the Most High. The title of this study was The Sins of Sodom. Just, really highlighting how abominable these actions are. How the Most High is not condoning it in any way, no matter how much people try to make it seem like when they see love in the Bible, it's accepting homosexuality. It is not. Okay. We have to try to fight against the consensus of the world and really open up our minds and see what is going on in spiritual Sodom and Egypt. Okay. Really look and see what's going on. Really open our eyes and see what's happening. What's going on is that the devil himself has convinced mankind that two people of the same gender can have a fruitful relationship and carry on and sustain life. That is not so. Okay? What people are doing, they are ending their family tree voluntarily. Okay? That is genocide of your own family tree. Okay? It's not a smart thing to do. It is not a righteous thing to do. It's not a holy thing to do. And the Most High does not support it. So with that, I want to say all praises to the Most High. AHAYAH, Yasha, Chakamawath. And I pray that everybody has a blessed Shabbat. I pray that this is something that people can share with families and friends. Anybody that they know that seems to think that this is a harmless thing, I pray that we really are able to get the fruit of this message. All right. So with that, I want to say Shabbat Shalom. All praises to the Most High. Y'all have a blessed Shabbat.